Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. The campaign is Horror on the Orient Express. It's available from Chaosium. I am the Keeper of the Secrets, and this is episode 3. Our recap will be given by Stuart Lively as his character, Theodore Thursby. So, without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Stuart?
Thanks, Tom. We all booked passage from the United States to England aboard the SS Leviathan, arriving New Year's Day, 1922. January 3rd, for the Challenger lectures, we were invited as guests, and Professor Julius Smythe was the primary speaker. Prior to attending the day before, our close-knit group from the Arcane Society, Dr. Gabriel Neruda, Professor of Theology, Dr. Roland Kurz, inorganic chemist, Gunther Block, stage magician and quite excellent photographer, Dr. Edison York, very affluent medical doctor, Dr. Dorian Dabrowski, professor of archaeology, and myself, Theodore Thursby III, big game hunter and now student at Miskatonic. We all visited Professor Julius Smythe at his home. After a good day of catching up, we leave Professor Smythe and his assistant Beddoes and visit the British Museum, especially enjoying the Maudsley exhibit, a large variety of fantastic carvings, many of them precise castings of the originals. Heading to the British Library next, we spent some time in awe at its immense size and number of complete collections. The Challenger lectures were fascinating and well received by the attendees. The next day, we see some sights in London. Then we accompany Dr. York visiting his family over in Swindon, out in the country. The following morning, we discover in the paper that Professor Julius Smythe's estate was burned to the ground, with what some saw as Beddoes carrying off Julius. We rushed back to Professor Smythe's estate to find all destroyed, barring a discovered journal of his periphery, in the periphery of his home. We checked the Oriental Club for Smythe, as that was his favorite place to frequent. No one there had seen him since the night before. We did receive a discreet message from Smythe asking us to come immediately to a secret location. Upon arriving, we discovered both Beddoes and Smythe alive, but injured from the fire apparently set during an attack on their estate by some madmen, possibly Turkish in origin, searching for a legendary artifact, a Sedefka simulacrum. Julius went on in horrible pain, begging us to complete finding the pieces to this artifact and destroying them. Beddoes gave us all the notes on this, bringing us up to speed as best they could. What on earth did Smythe and Beddoes discover?
All right, thank you. And now you've left the Whitechapel hovel, and where are you guys heading?
I have a flat. We should retire there. We'll have plenty of room and privacy to go over this information.
Yeah, that might be a good idea with what it seems like these hooligans did such horrific harm and damage to the estate and almost murdered them. But we might need to be careful here.
All right, so you travel across town to Dr. Edison's flat. Is it on where is it on the, like, probably a high floor of something?
Yeah, it's in a high rise overlooking Hyde Park. Not a high rise. It's in an older building, but it's the top floor.
Okay, so you go up there. It's warm and comfortable. It's freezing outside. You arrive. What would you like to do first as you are gathering yourselves together?
Pour myself a drink after seeing him cut up like that. That was a little shaking.
Dear God, yes. You have some nice gin or brandy handy?
Yeah, the flat is well stocked. And it's a family home. So the first thing I do is I get on the telephone and I call to arrange to have the services restarted, so there'll be wait staff and that kind of stuff to kind of take care of our needs here, because that just seems natural, right? When I'm here, you reinitiate the help to come and do things. So I get that going and make sure that everyone has something to drink and bring in some good lighting, and we can all gather around this table and see what it is exactly that Smythe gave us.
Well, your flat is maintained. At least it's cleaned on a regular basis, whether anybody's there or not. Your current staff will arrive within a half an hour. So,
oh my, great service.
Yeah.
So we have two items to look through. One is what Beddoes gave us with all of Smythe's notes, but we also have this journal from a few years back too that might fill in some additional blanks.
The materials that Beddoes gave us personally seemed rather pressing. I think we should start with them.
The Sedefkar simulacrum is an occult artifact of terrible power. Evidence suggests it was broken apart and scattered across Europe at end of the 18th century. We must retrieve the pieces and destroy it. The statue was found in Paris just prior to the French Revolution. Part of it may still be in France. The owner was the Viscount Genevert, an aristocrat known for his decadence and strange tastes. He was probably beheaded during the Reign of Terror, but I have not researched this. One of Napoleon's soldiers likely carried a piece of the statue into Venice when they invaded that city. Could be in a museum or a private collection. There was also a piece in circulation in Paris just after the Great War and sold to someone from Milan. We've traced another fragment to Trieste around the same time. Its fate is unknown. Look for Johann Winkelmann at the museum there. It is highly likely that there will be a piece in the kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovens, starred at the National Museum of Belgrade. Dr. Milovan Todorovic is the curator. One part was lost near Sofia during the Bulgarian War in 1875. At that time, things of value were hidden from the invaders, could be buried. Based on my research, I believe the only way to destroy the statue is in its place of origin. We think it was created in Constantinople in a place now known as Paris-Camus. Apparently, it's an abandoned mosque, but originally the structure was something else before Islam, even before Christianity. A ritual to destroy it is included in a set of scrolls known as the Sedefkar manuscripts. Their location may be somewhere along the way. We do not know if they are together or separate, but I believe there are 5. I mean, looks like he had done a little research, got a little trail on whatever this simulacrum is.
Yes, the matter is, since our friends' attackers were clearly unreasonable subjects of some kind of irrational and fanatical group, we might assume that they are merely misguided about the power of this thing. And if we get a hold of the first piece that is mentioned, the nearest one, and we can destroy it utterly, then I believe we could possibly prevent this statue from being recreated in its entirety, even if it is a powerful shape. I wish we knew what the overall form of it was.
Yeah.
It's hard to put a puzzle together if you don't know what the image is.
Yeah, it's difficult, but yeah, I could see that. I mean, it seemed like the closest one was in Paris. Why would you need a ritual just to destroy just a physical object? I mean,
The one in Paris, though, that sounded like that one left Paris. It'll be difficult to track these all down. Seems like they're scattered half across Europe for the most part.
Who is the? So, if we believe it was created in Constantinople, then I guess the name Sedefkar might be a Turkish name, and that might give us a hint of what the shape of the thing is. I also wonder why it was created when it was.
I mean, before Christianity, so you think during the Byzantine Empire or maybe even Roman Empire time?
Well, it would have to be Roman, right? Yes, right. Oh, yes, created in Constantinople, but before it was Turkish or even Greek, perhaps. Yes.
According to these notes, it seems like it may predate anything that we would think of as civilized history. I wonder if we were to look up anything about this this Viscount Genevieve, maybe there's some kind of record about a statue. We know it's a statue, but maybe we can get a sense on what it looks like. Is it a statue of a male, a female? Is it a statue of a warrior, a hunter, an animal? I mean, we should try and determine what is it that we're looking for.
Yeah, you made a note, yes, didn't you, Dr. York, of what was carved into Smythe's flesh?
Yes, there was strange writing in his chest.
I have to transcribe that carefully.
Yeah,
I have it transcribed.
Yeah, I thought it possibly sounded Turkish. Now, I didn't have much interaction with our allies, the Ottomans, during the war, but it had a hint of Turkish. But maybe I'm being biased since they had said the attackers were Turkish.
Do we know anyone that can translate Turkish? I'd just be interested to see maybe Sedefkar Simulacrum or whatever that is might actually just translate into something more understandable.
Yeah.
Well, I believe what I would like to do, gentlemen, with my role as a researcher of theology, looking into obscure religions emanating in the Ottoman region in Turkey around Constantinople is not out of band. So looking into these obscure terms, which might be religious and these things, I could do at the British Museum without raising an eyebrow. Studying religions is what I do, after all.
Yeah,
I think that's fantastic.
I'm sure there's a Turkish to English dictionary reference book somewhere that could look up those words also.
Yeah.
We also might have luck at the University of London, possibly, if we wanted to make use of their extensive library there.
I feel as though there are a few clues in Smythe's notes that might help us make an initial rough map as well. But all of these researchers will, I assume, come together as we learn a bit more. Is there still a place? Is the location of a Perili Kami still known? That sort of thing.
We should proceed with some form of caution, though. I mean, it seems like the people that pursued Julius and Beddoes were quite serious in getting that information. So,
the tragedy of losing that house and his things, and they're both. I'm not even certain that they will both recover.
I don't understand. According to these notes, isn't the statue already broken into these pieces? Isn't it already destroyed?
I believe, from what I gather, it's the fear that they could be reassembled. If you bring the pieces all back together, you may be able to have access to two such things. That wouldn't be surprising. I mean, a magical an object being used in a religious ritual is very common. I mean, you look at relics in the Christian tradition. Objects have a lot of significance that these people were willing to kill and torture and maim to find them.
And we didn't, perhaps if Smythe can establish a telegraphic connection once we are on the journey that he has requested of us, we can ask him if he has any theory about how these people found him, what specific sort of inquiry he made or where that indicated to these group of fanatics that he knew more than, I mean, he does know, he has done in history, obviously. Maybe they have a sleeper somewhere. We should be watchful, especially if we see anyone who has recent burns, because it sounded as though the attackers were injured significantly in the fire on the estate.
Yes.
And communication from Smythe and Beddoes, should they know to use our code word. It's Buttercup, I believe.
Chestnut.
Oh, I'm glad you're there to recall.
Named after my horse, Chestnut.
Yeah.
Well, what about that journal? Do you think there's anything in that journal that we should that could be of pertinence?
I'm through it.
The journal is a rather fat little journal. It's stuffed with postcards and things like that. The first part of it is obviously started by Professor Smythe right after he got his professorship at the university in London. But then after that, there comes a point where his writing becomes very almost frantic as he's writing. Now, if you want to read the journal, that actually starts a whole scenario. That starts the 1890s scenario. That would mean that we'd start the 1890s scenario.
And we are also hoping that, assuming that Dr. Smythe recovers quickly from the care of this secret veterans hospital, he's looking to reach us first in Paris.
What I would suggest is let's wait for a time when you have it. It's just for the game's sake, for a time when you have a long stretch, like when you're going from Paris to Trieste, where you can all sit and read through the thing.
Yeah,
and we'll play
this looks so long. It would
as we travel. Sure.
Yeah. So we want to complete our research in town and make sure that there is not a loose end here that he has not noticed, and then regain connection with him when we get to Paris.
Is there a maybe like a little Turkey enclave here in London? Like
sure. In fact, something one of you last week said something about a fez. The fez is actually an incredibly popular form of hat right now all across Europe. So you don't have to be Turkish to wear the fez. Everybody wears fez. People smoke their pipes and have a little fez on their hats. So it's not unusual to see that around town. There's going to be, it's London. There's going to be enclaves of every national group. There's probably an embassy as well.
Before we get the research going, I want to write to Miss Catonic and to my wife, because I think I'm going to take a sabbatical, because I mean, the matters of this concern do concern my field of academic study. So taking a sabbatical to look into this obscure religion while I'm over here that I've discovered is will help preserve my position in the long term. I don't know how long this is going to take us. And then also informing my wife that I won't be returning home as soon as I thought.
You can send a letter. It'll take actually a couple of weeks to get there. But then again, you were planning on staying here probably for a month anyway.
Yeah, but the letter will get there before I would have left anyway. But it will
Correct.
be like, hey,
right.
I'm not. But I should send that because it is going to take weeks. I should send them right now.
There is also there is an underwater cable for telephone, but it will take usually 2 hours or so of waiting for the connections to be. It's got to go through the old-fashioned way.
Okay, well, I do intend to. Yeah, I'll call Miskatonic. That's a better discussion to talk with the department chair. But
so phone calls back to the United States. You call the operator. She gets a hold of the international operator. They find out from you who you're calling. Mind you, it's late in the evening right now. So
yeah, I'll wait. But I just want to. I will be doing this. I just want to make that.
And then they will call you back when your phone call comes through, which might be 2 hours from after you put it in. But they will locate the person before they connect you.
Okay, so I'll wait for like tomorrow morning to start that process.
It's a good point, Dr. Neruda. I expected to be starting the semester late, but if we are to take a travel from here to Istanbul, Constantinople back, then perhaps it's best if I have my housekeeper shut my place down and get a teaching assistant to fill in. There's one paper I can work on, though. I think I have the research, so. Yeah.
It's the benefit of being self-employed. Work on the latest tricks. But,
Here, Mr. Block.
So what sort of plans do you have? Obviously, it's the evening now. Tomorrow morning, what plans do you have for your research or what you're going to do?
I'll go introduce myself at the British Museum library and get their assistance in looking into this into these religious matters from Constantinople. So that includes looking into the mosque, the abandoned mosque, its history, trying to find things about the manuscript and the simulacra. Try to run those because they're all connected at that place of origin, which has religious affiliations.
So you're going to the library.
Okay. Yeah, the library. Yeah. That's what I'm looking into.
Imagine I join you. I mean, I was thinking that Paris is closest, so I'd want to look up that Viscount.
Dr. York, what are your plans?
I am not a very skilled researcher, so I should partner up with someone who is more skilled than I, just so I could be a companion and an assistant. I want to learn firsthand how to do some efficient research. So I'll join Dr. Neruda if that's okay.
That is perfectly fine. Glad to have you along.
Dorian, Theodore, you guys gonna do?
I'll let Theodore go first.
Stuart.
Oh, I'm let's see. Well, there's three of you there. I will stay with Dr. Roland Kerr simply, and also Dorian. We shouldn't be separated too much. I'm fearful that there are some lunatics out there willing to kill for information on this. And if we're going around looking for this sort of thing, the trouble's not far. So I will stay with Dorian and Roland.
Yeah,
They're better researchers. but I will help with whatever they need.
Yeah,
I also instruct the staff that these are my guests. And so if they need to have access to the flat while I'm not here, that's totally fine. And that they are to extend every courtesy within reason, any necessities that they may have. So
excellent.
this can be a safe base of operations.
Dr. Curtis, what are you going to do?
So we have essentially a team of
3 going to the library.
cultural researchers going to the library together, and some of us whose experience is more in the practical sciences and also social, but not historical. Perhaps we should visit the Turkish embassy and see if we can get a couple of important bits of information there, comings and goings, reports of injuries with a degree of subtlety, and also the recognition of whether or not the writing you saw in the flesh was abracadabra from a madman or words from a culture. And also I would like to secondarily consider the cartographical matter of pinpointing whatever locations we can that's described in the notes.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
All right. So that's what you're going to do in the morning. Is there anything else you want to do this evening? Before we go.
A second glass of brandy.
Are you all going back to the Carlton, or are you staying in the flat overnight?
Oh, I just plan on going back to the Carlton.
Yeah, I as well.
I mean,
Yeah,
why?
the Carlton.
All right.
That would look awful suspicious. I mean, if we're trying to, behave like everything's normal, not to draw attention to ourselves.
Yeah, if there's any concern that these fanatics have an idea of any association, we were on the premises after the fire and so on. So caution is appropriate.
And I also want to definitely enjoy, before it gets too late, that lovely indoor swimming pool at the Carlton.
Yes. I
All
think
right.
I will join you.
Go for a night swim.
So you have a calm, leisurely evening as you ponder these things in your minds. You all sleep fairly well, although you're a little disturbed by, you can still see the face of Professor Smythe all burnt up, but such a magnificent mustache and beard and mutton chops are all gone.
Also, that beautiful library.
Yes, all those books, all of his research, everything gone.
Mustache and beard, though.
Although do an idea roll for me. Whoever gets it.
Oh, 1. Wow.
Oh, well, that wins.
There goes my good roll.
It does dawn on you, Gunter, that the professor is just like he was in Massachusetts, kind of spread out. He had his St. John's Woods home, but he also had the university and he had the Oriental Club, and any number of these places could also have his stuff.
Yeah.
He might even have an office at the university.
And they'd often keep books there. So while I'm sitting in the tub smoking my cigar, that's when it kind of hits me. Like, Eureka!
Did you guys have an idea of where you wanted? Do you want to meet for breakfast and then go, or do you want to meet for lunch afterwards or something?
Oh, I'm sure that the Carlton must have a fantastic breakfast arrangement menu.
Oh, sure.
Would not want to miss that.
There's also a little French place. Don't worry about that. It's not.
Yeah, well, we'll be in France soon enough. We'll
Yeah.
rent food soon.
No,
Well,
we need a good
let's
breakfast.
plan. I mean, let's plan tomorrow. I mean, breakfast, splitting up to our do our research, and then sometime in the afternoon, say 3 o'clock, we meet at the Oriental Club. That seem reasonable.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Reasonable. I like that.
That
3
sounds good.
o'clock Oriental Club.
And this is now the 7th of January. It's Sunday. So at the end of the day, or I guess at the beginning of the day, you guys can update your characters. We decided, I think, Sundays we would update. So if you guys have any roles you need to make to update your characters, let's do the Turkish embassy first. All right, so you head over, you find what the address is, and it's not really in like Little Turkey or anything like that, although there is areas of the city where there are Turkish populations. But the embassy itself is a very nice building. It's white. It's looks like it probably was established a long time ago, probably in the 1600s, but it was something else then, and it was repurposed eventually as an embassy. It is surrounded by a black wrought iron gate, although the gate is open and you are free to walk inside. There are probably guards, and the guards are dressed in Turkish military uniform, and they are wearing fezzes with the little things sticking up out of the side. But they don't like do it. They're like the guards at Buckingham Palace. They don't attack you or anything like that. They just stand.
They're guards of protocol, not guards of imminent attack. So before we enter, we should decide on a story about where this text comes from, and it should probably be a little urgent, but not attached to a violent crime.
Yes, sure. We don't want to draw any unwanted attention.
Indeed. We don't have a telegram that we can show. We just have the text written out. Where can we claim to have seen it that we would need to ask what it means, if anything?
Maybe being researched at
one of your local universities or something, maybe. I am an archaeology professor. Maybe it was something inscribed on. So,
well, that would be interesting if they said, "Oh, that can't be old." We would learn one thing, and they could also say, "Also, it means mutton with rice." Yeah.
It would be a way to play it, and even,
Yeah.
I like it. So we go in, we present our credentials, we inquire if there's a cultural liaison.
Sort of desk, well, not so much a desk, a counter. There's a young man in white linen sort of attire, has a fez on his head. He sees you come in. He says, "Yes, may I help you?"
We very much hope so. We are some academics visiting. My friend has come across a curiosity, and we hoped you could help it with us. We have a suspicion it might be something Ottoman, but we are ourselves ignorant of such things.
Yes, very unsure.
Something of all right. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what you're looking for. What do you want?
Well, we found this short inscription. And we wondered if we were identifying it correctly as possibly Turkic, or what age it might come from, or what it might mean.
You hand him the piece of paper. This is the thing that was on Professor's body. He looks at it, and he adjusts his glasses, and he looks at it for a moment, And then this look of like, I don't know if you'd say surprise, more like confusion comes over his face. And he's like, well, it is Turkish, but it's very somewhat disturbing.
What do you mean?
Well, it's difficult exactly to translate into English. The one who has no skin cannot be ignored, or the skinless one cannot be forgotten.
Yes, I see what you mean by disturbing.
It is bizarre. We found that inscribed on an artifact.
It's very strange.
That is strange indeed.
It sounds very strange.
Is it modern Turkish?
Well, it's definitely Turkish. I would say it's definitely modern, but it's not it's not something I'd hear commonly.
Not a common phrase.
It's a Muslim. We're all Muslims, and this does not sound like anything a Muslim would ever say.
So, if this were inscribed on, say, a statue that might be hundreds of years old, you would think the inscription was new.
I'm not an archaeologist, but
I appreciate
it's very strange. Where did you find this? You said
it was actually on a artifact that I uncovered on a dig, actually. So.
Oh well, it's very strange. Is there anything else I can help you with?
I was curious with travel to Turkey, perhaps in the near future. I was doing some research for a thesis in Constantinople. What are some of the better places? If say we were doing research, or I was doing research for rare and unusual ancient art or artifacts or such, where might be the best places to go to, other than just blindly going to all the universities and libraries?
The Constantinople is filled with museums and places. The Topkapi Museum, the Sultan's Palace. There's a tremendous amount of stuff there for you to see. It's a fairly large city.
Oh, yes.
And it's both modern and ancient. It's a very ancient city.
Yes.
Very beautiful.
Yes.
You, of course, need all of your paperwork in line, visas and so forth. And, we could assist you in obtaining all of those papers if you need them. You said you're doing research too, yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there a special? If we were to be taking the Orient Express, I have a sense that there's a sort of concierge service that takes care of those things. But is it different if we have academic work to do?
If you're on the Orient Express, you'll be all of those sorts of things are taken care of for you. Of course, you'll be probably staying then at the Palace Hotel when you get there. Very famous, very, very European style hotel. Quite pleasant.
That's good to know.
Tell me, I know some embassies have always staff going through every 2 or 3 years, so they remain culturally at home and fresh in the other place. Do you have a high turnover here? Do you have a lot of change of personnel?
Not so much. I've been here for 5 years.
Uh-huh. Do you like London very much? The weather must be terrible for you.
It's cold. It's wet. Yes. No, I rather like it.
You mentioned, of course, that you are all Muslim now. as if that would have some effect on the translation you gave. It's not as though there's a skinless one that is some kind of demon or jinn or something in Islam, is there?
I don't really know. It's very strange. Its translation could be wrong too. I mean, I'm not really an expert in translation.
No, but your English is excellent and you're a native speaker, so I trust your instinct.
We appreciate the help. Any help. I am not native. I am not a native speaker, but of the language you are, so we can trust your judgment.
And Keeper, it doesn't see a psychology roll would be silly, right? He's not shifty.
No, he's just a guy. I was going to say his name tag says Mustafa Koprulu. And he looks fairly young, like he's in his mid-20s.
Yeah, he's the front desk guy at this place.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you for your help.
And his British is perfect because that's probably why he got the job, because he's get educated.
Yeah, thank you for your help today. If
there's anything else I can help you with, if you need to help on paperwork, please, we can assist you with that.
We will be sure to stop by. Your customer service is very, very good, my friend.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mustafa.
All right. British Library. So you head on over to the British Library, and how do you want to handle this? Before you answer that, you're obviously going to be trying to look stuff up. You've run into your first little snag. Your first little snag is that the kind of information you're looking for, it requires something like an advocate, somebody who has filled out the paperwork and they have permission to go through those kind of records and things in the museum. You can do that, and you have the academic connections, but it's going to take a couple days to process before they'll let you do it.
Okay.
What are the odds that my family, being as well placed as they are, what are the odds that I might know a guy who can grease the wheels and get things going just by name dropping? Any kind of credit rating on that?
The thing is it's not like it's their procedures, and if they weren't following procedures, what's the point?
True, it's procedural, but I'm wondering if there might be a way to get our papers to the top of the list, get them expedited, because, well, we know someone.
If you have a letter from one of the universities or somebody of notable importance that's already connected with the library, then yes.
I'm wondering if maybe my family's done donations to this university, and if there's anything, kind of.
Well, let's do a luck roll.
Do a luck roll. Okay. 56 is a successful roll for my 60 luck.
Okay. I'll reduce it to 1 day. So instead of 3 days, it'll be ready tomorrow.
Okay, excellent. Right. Thank you so much.
Now, do they have like since we can't get to the books, they have like a card catalog so we could get ahead and go, okay, when we do get access, this would be the book that could possibly have the information?
Sure. Do a library roll. Whichever one of you has the best library.
I have a 60 library use.
That beats mine.
All right. That's an 84, so.
Okay.
But
Yeah, you're not really sure what to look for. You can definitely find tons of stuff on all of the locations along the way.
Yeah.
Tons of stuff on the Orient Express, but
yeah,
there's nothing that says anything about a Sedevkar simulacrum or a
Or-
Viscount.
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, nothing that's going to be
Genevard.
borne out in the card catalog. Nothing's going to be like the book with all the answers. Well, that's
Yeah.
something we should look at.
Yeah, I was wondering, like,
It's called Horror on the Orient Express.
But now, could
Like-
we have we gotten a translation of the Turkish without going through all the bureaucracy?
I'd say getting a Turkish English dictionary. Yeah. I mean, you're going to get more or less something close to the same sort of thing.
Okay.
Something about a skinless and not being ignored or forgotten.
Mhm.
Something.
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to. It's not as important now since the research is a little delayed, but following up on references to a skinless one from that region of the world will be very helpful, I think, later on. But we can't dive into that right now. So the
skinless.
only
one.
other thing I
weird.
can think of before meeting back up with the fellows at the Oriental Club would be to go pay a visit to the University of London, check on Smythe's office, see if it's been ransacked. Like, I mean, even seeing there, meeting some other people in his department, be like, hey, we knew him back at Miskatonic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a sterling idea. Let's go do that.
All right. You head on over to the university, and once again, you have some connections because of your own background. Nobody bothers to like check your credentials as you get in, and you eventually make your way to a place where his office is. His office is locked, but there's nobody there. And not everybody is aware of what happened to the professor either.
Is his office on the first floor or
It's on
ground
the
floor?
second- It's on the first floor.
It's on the first
Yeah,
floor, which is
on
not the
the-
ground floor.
I guess technically we're in England.
Yeah, so it is
it's
the
on
first floor. It is on the first floor. Okay, so like finding
When in
yeah.
England.
Miss Gunter, you don't happen to know how to pick locks, do you?
No, I know how to make things disappear into my hand, but actually picking the locks, that's not a skill that the stage demands. Fortunately.
It is Sunday, so there's not very many people around.
Can we force help?
Is the hinges on inside the office or in the hallway?
They're inside.
Do a luck.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah, they're inside the office with that roll.
Doors open into the office. Yeah.
Yeah.
How serious is this lock on this university office door?
It's just a doorknob lock.
Yeah, can we force it? I don't know if that's gonna get going to prison right off the bat.
Yeah. I mean, it's Sunday. We haven't seen a lot of people. I assume the department head wasn't in.
Right.
Yeah. I was kind of.
You could try to force it. You will damage the door in the
Yeah,
process.
I
if
don't
you
want them to do that.
If you be try something clever. I don't know.
Is there like a little how is it? You see, it's a doorknob lock.
Well, is there a transom window above the door?
That's
There is a transom above the door.
Well, I'll fold my fingers together and create a step for someone to step up there and see if they can open
Now,
that transom.
I am size 55.
I am size 70, so I am bigger than you.
Yeah.
So I mean size 55. Yeah, if you want to give me a boost, Dr.
Yep.
York.
Here you go, Gabriel. Go ahead. Hoist.
All right. Dr. Neruda, do a dexterity roll.
99. Oh, I was
All
rolling
right.
so good once upon a time.
So up you go. You start to go through the transom, and thump, you go through, and you land flat on your back on the floor. You're going to do 1 point of damage.
Not
Gabriel.
a climber.
Gabriel, are you okay?
He's not a lander.
Madre de Dios.
He got in.
He's in.
Open the door, let them in, and shut it behind us.
His office is
I will see what I can do to render him aid.
okay. You want to do some medical on him?
I want to do
or
first aid.
Do first aid.
Yeah.
Get back up his point.
An +3, so he gets the best possible care.
You put your arms underneath his, and you pop his back into place.
There you go.
And he's fine. He gets his hit points.
It's a new therapy I'm designing. I'm calling it chiropractic.
Well, whatever you call it, Dr. York, it's a godsend. Okay.
There you go.
All right.
Mm.
Just be very quiet now.
The room
All right.
is well organized. There are numbers of books. A lot of them are on medieval literature. He has a large desk. He has a few object to arts around the room, objects, things that he's collected over the years, masks and some odd
Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, that's little model of that actually is a working model. And
Open the lid.
No, I'm German. We don't do that.
you look through his paperwork on his desk and in his notes. Nothing here seems to indicate anything about an object, occult object. There's definitely some stuff here about your ghost, your haunting. But they're just notes like he was putting together when he was writing his speech and so forth.
Does he have things like stationery or cards?
He does.
So we could
stationary cards.
create for ourselves a letter of introduction.
How about, does he have like was he possibly planning a trip and seeing if he had like a planned trip agenda?
Do a spot hidden roll.
Can we all, as we kind of general search of the room?
Well, he's asked about
Okay.
that specifically.
No.
Yeah, you don't find any kind of an itinerary or anything like that. The rest of you, if you want to just look around in general for any kind of interesting clue.
What, hidden, you said? Or no?
But yeah, you can do a spot hidden, but you're not looking for that particular thing.
I'm not very good at this
Yeah.
clue gathering.
Everything here seems very mundane. Everything part of his everyday stuff. And
Well, now we know.
Yeah. I assume he has a office window looking out into like a quad.
sure.
I go out there and look, and what I'm kind of looking for is there a spot where someone could set up where if they were watching him, where they could go, oh, he's in the office now. He's not.
Yeah, not really. You're looking
Okay.
out into a quadrangle, and there's
Okay.
buildings across the way, but they'd really have to, and they
Right.
wouldn't be able to see him seated at his desk. His desk isn't next to
Okay.
the window.
All right. So,
I'm curious, maybe I've read too many dime store detective novels, but there's the concept of maybe taping or adhering in some way, maybe with gum or something, paperwork to the underside of things, underside of a desk, back end of a drawer, under a drawer. I want to try and check his desk and the shelving units and just for odd placements, behind a picture, just to see if there's any kind of paperwork that's been stashed away in in a clever location for to be difficult to be found.
Sure. We'll call that a spot hidden. You're looking for anything behind paintings and behind.
Yeah.
bric-a-brac.
I'm specifically, if I open a drawer, I'm not going through the drawer. I'm trying to find behind it or under it or something like that, under the desk, behind a painting, that kind of thing. So on the off chance that there is something to find, I'll spend the 7 luck to make this a successful roll.
Okay.
Just to see what could happen.
So you get down and you're climbing around under the desk and you're pulling out the drawers and you're checking for anything, even like hidden compartments or places where you might stash things. You find nothing. Move the paintings, move the things around the room. Yeah, he doesn't seem to have stashed anything here. He may have stuff stashed or had stuff stashed in his house, but it's all gone now.
Mm-hmm.
And that
It's not for a lack of trying that we haven't found it.
From when you were at his house, that did seem to be where the vast bulk of his research was.
Right.
Parable of Eggs and Basket come to mind.
Yeah.
Do any of his books seem like particularly good reading for long train trips?
Maybe. Whether you've read them or not.
Ones.
Whether you've read them or not, or maybe. I mean, just grab something if you want.
No, I don't want to take any of his books. Not.
Right. Now you did say something about forging a document. Were you serious?
No, I don't know how to forge a document. I've
already kind of leveraged my family's influence. I think we should be good on that. We're gonna get to it tomorrow.
Yeah.
In case it comes up again, I'll take. I just want if he has like a card, if he has like cards or something.
Sure, he does.
Take some, but yeah, I'm not a forger, and I don't even know what I would even. Yeah, seems hardly necessary to risk such a thing. So,
well, you are a doctor at a university, so you would know the basic form. I mean, you'd know at least the form of where you've been. You wouldn't necessarily know what the British form of such a letter would take, but then you don't have to be a British professor. From the people from all over the world come to the British Museum to study things. But Dr. Edison pointed out, I mean, it would still have taken a few days anyway.
Yeah, so I will take. I'll take a card of his or two, or some of his stationery. Just I don't know.
All right.
While we're here,
sure.
And there's no sense coming back. It might come in handy, or it might be completely pointless. But it's just a couple pieces of paper. Not gonna be too much of a burden.
All right. After your adventures, is there anything you want to do while you're out before you go back to the Oriental Club? Was that where we were going to meet? Right? Yes.
Yeah, we're meeting there at 3:00.
Okay, nothing? Okay. So 3:00 rolls around and you all converge at the Oriental Club. Based on what they had already told you, but what the professor had told them, you guys do have a private room available for you at the Oriental Club if you need it for discussing.
But I assume that they are aware that the professor is missing and presumed dead.
Correct.
Yeah. But they do not begrudge us the space. Rather, because he is a member of good standing and we're his friends, we probably get sympathy and crumpets.
And I wouldn't say presumed dead yet. Nothing said that his body was found. So, and it's only been a day. Everybody's hoping that he'll turn up in the hospital somewhere.
Yeah, and so that is how we will treat it, certainly.
Well, we struck out. No luck at all on our end. How'd you fellas do?
We appear to have frightened the desk personnel at the embassy.
Well,
He said it was something like no one modern or Muslim would say, like the skinless one is to be remembered, more or less. It did not seem, though, he did not seem to be aware if there was a specific. It is not like there is an ancient Anatolian deity called the skinless one that he was afraid of. It just seemed like it meant someone who had no skin.
Be forgot.
It did confuse him as well. Like,
Well, it's
So-
whatever it is, it's probably quite ancient, and people tend to not have a lot of information about ancient religions, especially when modern religious dogma shies away from paganism and past religion as faults, and the new as the way to God. So I'm not terribly surprised that even if it was a major deity, when such a transcription came about, that people in the modern day wouldn't think much of it.
He thought the construction was unusual, but he didn't think it seemed, for example, like it was gibberish words thrown together. It seemed to have a sense.
The skinless one may not even be a deity. I mean, it could just be in reference to the artifact that they're after, or if the artifact is a representation of a deity called the skinless one. I mean, statues certainly don't have any skin.
Also, I thought grimly that since they were cutting for Smythe's skin at the time, that he could have been an unforgotten skinless one when they finished. But perhaps this is not accurate with this.
Maybe.
Is there a chemical that's green and burns like acid and is highly flammable? Should I roll chemistry about this?
Roll your chemistry.
An easy success, extreme success.
Yeah, considering greenish in color, it burns when it's on your skin, and it's apparently highly flammable. I mean, you could probably think of a number of compounds that you could put together that would do this.
Yeah, and it would burn if it was a base or an acid in terms of the way he felt. So yeah, it's nothing. It doesn't suggest anything either unnatural or rare.
No, however, how well did you do on that?
I was at extreme. I got a 7 for 51.
Oh, okay. You think that you might be able, with a little bit more research, actual textbooks and things like that, you could probably eliminate any kind of, that's not the way I want to say it. You could narrow it down to things that would have been available to the common man, as opposed to compounds that would have to be put together in a laboratory or anything like that.
Yeah, nothing that requires a centrifuge or very rare materials.
You can think of chlorine and certain things that would give it a greenish hue and things that you could put together fairly commonly.
Yeah, I don't know how easy it will be to get some lab work done, but it's worth researching. It might tell us something about who the assailants were.
Well, while Dr. Kurtz ponders that, I'm thinking about that translation that you discovered about the skinless one. What if that's referring to this Sedefkar simulacrum? What if this statue is some kind of construction, a replicant of some kind of skinless corpse for medical research?
I mean, that's a possible theory. I think they're zealous attempts to retrieve it or to prevent its destruction leads me to believe that it has some sort of religious significance to them. It's
I believe I concur. They clearly have some kind of belief in this thing that may or may not be warranted. I that remains to be seen, but we still don't know what it is exactly that we're going for.
Yes, that's what I hope that we can discover tomorrow. Once we have access to the book, the texts at the British Museum.
Plus, the British Museum might also have a staff on hand that might be researching ancient artifacts from that region, from Turkey or the Anatolian Plateau.
I mean, it's beyond. I mean, trying to find the artifact is one thing. I'm curious as to its relation with the skinless one, if it's religious at all. Because if it is, that would tell us. If it comes from an old religious tradition, that should tell us a lot about its nature and the exact. I mean, the reason why they would want it. I mean, if there's a religion of the skinless one, we could discover that has an interest in, say, flaying and in statues, and if supposedly they have some kind of associations of power with those. That's good information to have. Knowing what the simulacra looks like is one thing, it's very important, but discovering its religious significance is also, so we know what we're looking for and why we're looking for it.
Yeah. I mean, my personal opinion is probably a relic of some kind, similar to how the church will have like the kneecap of Paul, or that's what I would think it is, of some ancient religion. I'm not a religious expert, Dr. Neruda, but I mean that's what I would theorize it would probably be.
I agree with you, Gunther. From my perspective,
my theories are coming from, say, something Romanesque. Each temple has its statue to Jupiter, or but they didn't have necessarily a piece of Jupiter, as with say Catholic relics, where they believe it was associated, like the bone came from a saint. So if they believed that the skinless one was a person, then that would lend itself to your theory that this simulacra is somehow a part of this god, or an embodiment, an avatar of this god, as opposed to just a statue representation of a god with ritual significance. A relic as opposed to a statue in a temple like Jupiter.
Now, in the Oriental Club, did people have like places where they would keep their own books here at this club? Like some clubs, you can keep your own bottle of liquor or some personal items at this.
There's kind of like, private apartments if a man needs a place to stay and things like that. They probably pay a premium of some sort that they keep that. You're not aware of whether the professor had any such thing at the Oriental Club, since he lived quite locally, and he wasn't married. He didn't have to get away from the wife.
But doesn't hurt to ask. I mean,
no, you could ask. You ask, and he didn't have a private room.
Dang. Okay.
It was worth asking. You never know. He could have got away from Beddoes after all.
Yeah.
The room that you're in is more or less the room that he would have used more than any other.
And given that it's an Oriental Club, as they call it, is there a Chinese room and a Japanese room and a Turkish room and a...
The motif for everything is kind of Oriental. There's Oriental rugs and Oriental vases and things like that.
A lot of red and black lacquer
And a
and
lot of silk and
One
very. It's just reflective of the current obsession with the Orient and.
Right.
Is there a club library?
Sure, yeah. You can check through it, but it's mostly just leisurely books and things like that.
Not a dictionary of exotic deities of the Orient
Mm-mm.
and Near East. I cannot believe, gentlemen, that we went to the Turkish embassy and did not ask if they had heard about the word Sedefkar. At the same time, I'm also perhaps. Can you believe this? At the same time, I am a little embarrassed that we told him we were going onto the Orient Express, because who knows, we might have eyes everywhere.
Yes, that is a good point. We brought
eyes.
that up and we didn't bring up an important thing.
Go ahead.
I think that we'll have better luck getting the full details of Sedefkar's history and his manuscripts through the British Museum as opposed to somebody at an embassy. But you never know.
Yes,
That's
He could have been quite knowledgeable. I'm not familiar enough with their culture to say if that would be common or not.
I would like to look more into it, as I am unfamiliar with a bit of. I would like to get more familiar with Turkish culture, get it back into my history side. It'll be interesting.
Certainly not recent. This all feels very what we're dealing with feels very esoteric. And it's a part of Turkish esotericism. So it's a little more removed than traditional lines of study into the occult and into magic, into religion. That's kind of dominated Western theology studies.
Well, it doesn't hurt starting with a bit of research going into Sedefkar. Or actually, just whatever we can do.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I would really recommend some form of caution, simply because we have known aggressors that are searching for information on this and went to great destructive lengths to extract that from Julius and Beddoes. So with that in mind, would they not, if they are searching for this, what we are, wouldn't they, if they are in London, go to the British Museum? It is a prime target to go.
I have a PhD in theology, and I teach theology at an Ivy League college back in the United States, and they put me through bureaucratic hell. If it wasn't for York, we'd be days delayed. I don't know what kind of academic credential these arsonist torturers have.
Well, it depends.
Also, they are not seeking to determine what it is to have a Sedefkar.
Yes,
because they know what the Sedefkar is.
Yes, we're looking for knowledge they already have. So yeah.
But what they would be interested in, they know Julius and Beddoes are not dead. They know they escaped the scene. They did not. There's a good chance they know they're out there, and they could have passed that information on to someone else.
Again, they already they think. I mean, they're injured. They're looking to hunt them down. But the reason they went there in the first place is because they knew that Smythe knew something.
Yeah.
Again, they're looking for people who they have pre-established knowledge of these things. I don't know if it's really in their interest. They're wanting to hunt down Smythe to make sure he doesn't pass anything along. I don't know if they're staking out the British Museum to hear if anybody's asking for certain keywords, which I haven't asked for. I'm just trying to look at the esoteric matters in Constantinople as a theologian. So
I think we were a little bit foolish perhaps at the embassy, and we should be mindful, but in general it is also not healthy to peer behind every curtain and shriek at the sight of a fez.
You'd be shrieking all up and down the street. Half the people in the Oriental Club are probably wearing fezzes.
Oh my God.
With their smoking jackets. And
maybe we should be getting ourselves a set of fezzes to fit in.
Yeah. I look around, of course, in the Oriental Club, and I'm assuming that this being in the 1920s London, that everyone here is of Northern European descent, or not. No one from Turkey.
In our fantasy role playing game, we'll say there's no prejudice in this world, but yeah, everybody here is white.
Okay, yeah.
White and European.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get it to. So tomorrow, gentlemen, obviously we're going to reattack the British Library. Any other ways that we think we should go? I was thinking we have the detective's name that was assigned for the arsonist, Detective. I wrote it down. Ridgeby. No,
yeah. Speaking to Rigby might make sense.
I
I could also see if there's a university chemist that I have a relationship with, either through Miskatonic or through someone in Zurich, so that I could pop into a lab and see, press his brain a little bit to see what is this thing that burns the skin and bursts into flame and is greenish in color, that anyone can make with cat gut and boric acid or something. I could perhaps also determine this in the chemistry section at the British Library without having to wear gloves.
True. But those are the avenues I could see for our next inquiries. I was throwing it out, see if anyone else had brainstorm ideas.
Do you think that this Rigby, we must not tell this Rigby that Smythe is living, right?
Oh, or no.
I wonder if that makes inquiring after him through him difficult, though.
Well, we could. It gives us an in. We could be. His body wasn't there. We're known to be his associates. So, I mean, we were invited to come to his lecture. We're just concerned, and hey, we just wanted to press. Hey, what's going on with the investigation? Do you have any leads on who might have done this?
That's good. And I mean, if he's being followed because again, the arsonists want to find Smythe, and you show up asking, feigning ignorance about his location, I mean, that may could dispel any interest they had in us, or it could make us subjects of interest. But again, I mean, sleeping at shadows, again, we don't know if he's being tailed or watched or thought about in any way by these men.
Kendra, you can do an idea roll.
Okay.
Normally, I don't use the lot of idea rolls, but in this case,
I can roll idea rolls. I can't roll in my skills. 09 for my idea.
That's nice. Well, I'm just going to suggest that you probably know way more about the situation than he does.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Already. And I don't think that he could add anything to it.
Okay, gotcha.
I wonder if he could add anything to at least.
He can't add anything to it.
Okay.
No.
Reading you loud and clear.
Let's think about this. What if he maybe.
All right. I would like to know more about this artifact, though. It is, from my perspective, it's intriguing that there are seemingly so many people after this thing. It makes me, as an archaeologist, more intrigued to find out more about it. Maybe, perhaps, this group of people also have an archaeologist on their side. I don't know. Maybe someone with this passion, but not in the same passion as I have. So we should probably be extremely careful, like we already are. And as Kurz did mention, we made some awful mistakes at the embassy, but we will learn from them and ask the right questions.
Do you want to move on to the next day? the library?
Well, I want to make the phone call back to Miskatonic that I
Okay.
mentioned now that we have, since we have nothing that we could think of to do in the evening. It's not even the evening yet. It's like at the afternoon. So, and
Yeah.
we're ahead in time. So
Yeah, we're
my call will be coming in at a reasonable time.
yeah, you're
back in the States.
6 hours ahead of 5 hours ahead of Eastern time. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so it's like noon over there. So now's a good time for Danny to call. What is a Sunday? Whatever. I'll make the call.
Roll 1d4.
3.
Takes an hour and a half for the phone call to go through, but eventually you do get to your department, and you set that up. They're like, fine, you were going to be gone a month. They'll understand if it takes you some time to get back. And
yeah,
there's
it's like
not
there's this interesting thing to research.
Yeah.
Still keeping it vague, but it's like there's this interesting obscure religious sect they may have discovered over here. So
And your wife is understanding. She says, your brother Frank is going to come and stay with us while you're gone.
so he's decided to come pay us a visit. I'm glad I'm not there.
That's why he's visiting.
That's why he's visiting.
We don't get along so well.
Anything else before we move on to the next day? Okay. So that was Sunday, the 7th. So now it's Monday, the 8th. Why do I keep track of days? Because it's kind of important in the story. All right. It's not important because there's some doomsday clock that's slowly ticking down. Don't worry about that. That's masks.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't keeping track of dates in that game for any purpose. I don't know why you guys ever thought that. But
I just realized when I said that it sounded very ominous, but I don't.
It did. I was like,
I don't want to become a
no.
distraction. It's
And,
shouldn't be a
We
distraction.
are hurry.
Stu, I think it's
T
1923, isn't it?
It's 1923, correct?
Oh,
January.
23. Oh, thank you.
You're helpfully keeping.
All right. So the next day, when the museum library opens, you head there and you are met with no difficulty whatsoever. You guys have, I don't know, some sort of pass that they give you so that the employees will know. Now, you have to have a research assistant because their basic policy is, they can retrieve stuff from the stacks and bring it to you. You have to wear white gloves while you're doing it. These are all important documents. And then you don't return them to the stacks, they return them to the stacks. That way there's no mix-ups, in where things get placed and so forth. So, assuming that you've done that, they've assigned you a fellow named Alex Pike, and he will assist you in what you would like to research. You're in the reading room, but you have kind of like a private little cubicle. It's not that private, but it's private enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing research on French aristocracy before the revolution. I'm not that worried about people spotting me. Look that up.
Okay.
I'm the one asking about the.
Yeah, you're different.
Well, let's just go down the line. Okay. You're looking for the something about the aristocrats just before the French Revolution. You don't find a lot. You, of course, find the names of the big shots, but a lot of records were destroyed. A lot of houses were burned. A lot of people's heads got their heads chopped off. They tell you most likely you'd probably be more lucky at the Bibliothèque Nationale de Paris on looking for stuff that's in Paris.
Now, this is my player ignorance. Was Marquis de Sade about in the same time frame? Because I'm just wondering with this guy having the same kind of extreme proclivities.
Yeah, there's definitely some parallels between the
Okay.
two of them. That
Marquis, I believe, was released from the Bastille by the revolutionaries.
Okay.
He was
so-
very much right in there.
All right.
He was imprisoned for
perversion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like I think
Incredible
for,
gross perversion.
at least a couple of years.
No, he was in. He wrote. I think he wrote 120 Days of Sodom while he was in the Bastille.
Yeah.
And he was in and out more than once. Everyone hated him eventually.
Yeah.
But he
Okay.
was right in the, you know.
But he was part of that extreme decadent, that same sort of group
Okay.
of people.
All right. So,
Morgan, what were you looking for? I'm sorry, Dr. Neruda. What avenues?
I'm looking for information on mystical texts from Constantinople. So ancient things from the Greco-Roman tradition, free Greco-Roman if they have it, Islamic texts. They're just catalogs of magical, esoteric materials from period Constantinople.
There's a fair amount of stuff on the pre-Christian Byzantium and the Roman religions, and earlier the Greek religions, but none of it appears to be any more than what you're already kind of aware of. There's books that mention secret cults and religious underground movements, the Magna Mater and things like that. But the reason why they're kind of secret is because we just don't know. We don't have enough information on those sorts of things.
This is a recent thing of scholarship. What about is any direct references to a Sedefkar or his manuscript? The Sedefkar manuscripts, if they're mentioned anywhere in the catalog,
You
similar
do.
document.
All right, do a library roll for that one.
05. That is an extreme
Nice.
success.
Okay. One thing that you learn is that Sedefkar is a first name, a male first name. Not really common, but not uncommon. The architect who created the Blue Mosque was Sedefkar Mehmed something rather long, one of those long names. That's in the 1500s. There's a few other references here and there to people with that name. The name means mother of pearl, like in the inside of an abalone shell, but nothing specifically about a statue or the creation of anything. The rest of you, what are you guys researching or looking at?
I'll research anything pertaining to Napoleon's march on Venice, say from April 1797, when they started mustering the forces and supply trains, all the way to May of 1797, and maybe even a little afterwards. Anything peculiar about it, not the general history, but more in depth about any oddities, obscure, little known facts and tidbits of that sort of information.
Do a library. Sounds like you already know more than I do.
But not with this roll. 84. That's like just
the closest you find is the fact that people did take spoils, of places that they wanted to. So when the professor says that it's possible that somebody took a piece, could be. Dr. Dabrowski, what are you looking up?
Well, I would be more looking into the artifacts, any artifacts themselves, even Any intriguing ones on around Turkey? That kind of Constantinople.
Millions of them. So,
Yeah. Obviously, using Sedevka as a guideline, I'm kind of trying to narrow it down.
Do a luck roll. I mean, a library roll.
That is 24, which is a hard success.
Okay. You search through these books, looking and looking and looking, trying to find any kind of reference. The closest that you get is something that sounds like a statue with unusual powers. It doesn't say what they are. But the thing that you're reading is referring to a story, a book. And the book is called L'Immagine del Diavolo, the image of the devil. And it's written in Venetian Italian. And the last known location of the book is in the church of Mary Celestina. I think it's Celestia, or the Mary Queen of the Heavens, in that city. But that's all. Just a reference that there's more information in that book.
Okay. I relay this to anyone around me at the time. Yes. I'm intrigued. I would like to know more about this, but I think by now reading through all of this, my brain is a little bit all over the place, sifting through a lot of boring things to get to this.
I might have gotten the spelling wrong, but I can give you the correct spelling.
I would like to see if there is a text on volatile agents and reagents of the pre-modern world, maybe especially Eastern, if they have a specialty.
Okay. Go ahead and do a library roll on that. Or do a chemistry roll. That's what you're looking in chemistry books.
There's only 1 point difference between them, and I rolled a 12, so it makes no difference.
Okay. The green is what sort of captures you. You're thinking borax or boric acid would be very green. It would also cause a green flame. It's quite toxic when mixed with other things, and it would definitely burn the skin. Boric acid.
But it doesn't suggest. I mean, it's pretty basic stuff. It's almost bleach and ammonia. Like, don't mix these things or it makes a big mess.
Right.
Don't pour this on anybody. Yeah. Fair enough.
Dr. Edison, did you want to look for anything? Oh, wait. Are you there? Who's actually at the library?
I think we all ran
You're all at the library. You're all at the
all-
library. Okay.
We all went.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm interested from a medical perspective. If there are any documents about unusual, focused on skinless, are there any documents about that highlight any kind of weird rituals or any actions that would have been taken with corpses that were flayed and what that may have been about?
Go ahead and do a library roll.
Yeah, way off.
Okay. You don't find anything. There was a period in time when any kind of work on cadavers was a no-no. I mean, especially in the late 1700s before, people started actually doing medical research. However, you do find a reference to a Flemish artist named Andreas Vesalius. And there are books in the library of his artwork. And he seemed to focus a great deal on, I wouldn't say flayed corpses, but skinless ones. That's probably his most famous one, as if the person took off their own skin with a knife and is holding it in their hands.
Is there anything that we can find in the library in reference to simulacra?
Simulacra is just a word meaning like an artificial
Like
statue
copy.
or
It's like a
copy,
of something.
right?
Yeah, I'm just I need to be more specific. Simulacra in Constantinople, or about
You
that
don't find
mosque,
any.
that
You don't
location.
find any kind of a connection there. You do, though, find a reference to that these scrolls or manuscripts most likely would be held in the Topkapi Museum in Constantinople, if anywhere, if they still exist.
Oh, I keep coming back to this article in the paper, and now that we're talking about Turks, the name Malifkat, which was the name of the guy that got stabbed 3 times, or there was like, it's in the paper, there was 3 people that got killed that had, and Malifkat, I'm wondering, is that like a Turkish name, or am I going down a rabbit hole that...
Second. Talk about the newspaper.
Yeah, the newspaper you gave us last time, there was a story on the front page about 3 men being killed, all with the same name. And
Here, sorry.
3 men killed at hotel. Each man carries same fake identification. 3 slain men were discovered last night in a London hotel, each bearing the same fraudulent identification. Each man had been stabbed through the chest. Maids at the Chelsea Arms Hotel discovered the bodies. The rooms were also registered under the same name. The identification papers of all 3 men list a Mr. H. Malifkat, an antique and art dealer doing business in this city. The 3 victims bear superficial resemblances to one another, and each had passed as Mr. Malifkat since independently arriving in London 3 days ago. Descriptions obtained from the area shops described the original Mr. Malifkat as an elderly man quite different than the imposters. At present, the real Mr. Malifkat cannot be found. Police request that he come forth. Inspector Fleming of Scotland Yard is at a loss to describe the meaning of this bizarre mystery, but is eager to converse with anyone who knows the whereabouts of the elderly antiques dealer. Yeah, so I was just thinking, I was like, well, Malifkat kind of got a exotic name.
It could sound Eastern. Also, antique dealer is the sort of
Malfikat. Okay, thank you.
sort of occupation that allows one to travel with crates here and there. Travel without so much scrutiny.
Could be worth looking into.
That hotel is not that, it's a bit north of us, I think. Not that far away. I'll have to check the Baedeker, but I believe it's not so far.
It's in the same. It's a coincidence that Turkish, well, that European sounding name, similar incident in the same newspaper as the fire. There's a bit of a coincidence.
Which would imply it happened the same night.
Yes.
But why kill your fellow conspirators in this matter?
Well, I mean,
Competitors?
Yeah, or hey, if I find the information myself, now I can move up higher in the organization.
A lot of things come down to money and power, so you're probably correct going to that.
Also, the paper says that they had injuries from stabbing. That does not mean they did not have also burns. The papers do not always tell you everything.
Yeah, true.
But
what is it that we hope to gain from following up on this, to see if some of the people who attacked by their dead?
It might simply be worth keeping an eye out for that name as we travel,
Yes.
since there's a Malficat who's still missing.
Yeah. Or if he had an antique store, I mean, maybe if they're looking for a simulacrum, which we believe could be a statue, I mean, hey.
It's worth going to this antique store, maybe?
If he had one, I imagine it just said he was an antique dealer, so it didn't.
Yeah,
Easy to look up.
Business competition must be very, very, very fierce to be carving esoteric gods into people's chests.
Yeah.
In the search of
I think
antiques to sell.
Dr. Nerud, it would be more a matter of using the antiques to hide the heresy rather than the heresy to hide the occults.
Yes.
we obviously have people that are very serious about this afoot.
Dorian,
Yeah,
did you want to try looking it up, you said?
Yes, that is what, at least cross-referencing the name and seeing if there is a place registered to the name or whatever.
Okay. What would you look in? I mean, phone book, maybe?
Yeah, whatever would be easy access.
Do a library roll for that, or luck roll, whatever you think you'd rather do. It's not really like it's hard to find the phone book.
Well, I am more lucky. Yes, I succeeded on either of them, actually.
Okay.
But 42.
You find there is a shop called the Malficat Antiques of Islington, and it gives an address, 3 Boffrey Lane, Islington.
Okay. Well,
Purveyor of antiques.
well,
perhaps we can go there and get our fezzes, so we'll be ready to travel on the train
yes,
in current style.
I think it's worth at least a look. There's an antique store that goes along with it. It could be nothing, but there's no harm in looking, right?
Well, if the police cannot find the elderly Mr. Malficat, then I assume he is not in his Mr. Malficat's shop.
And it might be, it might not be a waste of time. It might be something else of use. So,
well, hey, it can only be as productive as my research on the Viscount, which was not productive.
Let us just not go in and rush around yelling.
no.
Sudoku.
Yes, yes,
Death card. The death
Maybe
card,
not.
yeah.
All right. So the day is winding to an end at the museum, at the library. We'll say it closes, let's say, at 5 o'clock. I don't know exactly when it closes, but let's say it closes at 5 p.m.
I'm not sure if you saw my chat, but I'm kind of keeping my eyes peeled.
I did see that. Yes, you don't see anything.
All right.
Most of the people who are in here are stuffy and or students and doing research, and they all seem to have gone through exactly the same channels that you have.
Some maniacs almost killed my good friends there. So,
So what would you like to do? It's still No, it's still light. Well, it's
No,
got just an hour or so left before the sun's down. It is winter.
yeah. Hmm.
I don't know whether to we go check the area now or wait till the morning. Maybe.
I think we should begin to make plans for travel. But I think a magician and an archaeologist visiting an antique store seem very
Seems
very
likely,
natural.
yes.
Did it list the hours in the phone book, or we can just go by? I mean,
Yeah.
might be some good food around there also.
It's not too far
Yes.
away, right?
And Teddy, you could always come along and you could do with the experience of looking at some antiques. Anyway.
Oh yeah, I mean
I'll
they
show
might
you.
some wonderful animals stuff there. I might be able to find something bigger and better to add to our collection.
You can always learn something from an antique. There's always some hidden history. Well, most of the time, not always. Sometimes they're fake, and people sell fakes. That's a lesson, Teddy.
Thank you, Professor. Taking notes.
You don't need to take any notes.
So
That'd be great.
Islington is part of London, I think that's proper to say. It's northwest of the Tower of London.
Oh,
After
nice.
a few blocks. It's not. It's also a fairly large area. It looks like of London. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, we have the address, 3 Boffrey Lane.
It's fairly big.
But you can find it on the map. You can find it wherever you want to go. All right. So is that what you want to do? Who's going to head over there?
I was going to join Dr. Dabrowski.
So 3 of you are going over there. What are the other 3 going to do? Dr. Gabriel, Dr. Edison, and the doctors, the three other doctors.
Probably have afternoon coffee, beat myself about the head a little bit for being stupid, and perhaps start packing before we meet. I assume we all meet for dinner at the hotel, unless Dr. York would like to host.
Yeah, let's. I called ahead, and there's a hot dinner being prepared for us now, so we can retire to the flat and review any notes that we've collected, and let's start making our plans for the Orient Express.
Yes, and since we know we're stopping off in Paris and the Bibliothèque Nationale has come up a few times, I'm curious if it's almost worth faxing ahead to announce our arrival in case they have the same kind of red tape.
Yes, we could send a telegram.
A faxogram?
Faxogram.
Yes, we could write off something and suggest that we are coming.
Because, I mean, if it wasn't for York's connections, we would have be stuck here for days.
We could prepare documentation for, as much of the route ahead is useful. It's true. Save time and presentation of various, paperwork.
Okay. So while you're doing that, the other 3, you drive over to Islington. It's definitely a merchant area of town. There are a few flats above shops. When you get to the shop in question, and there's a sign, up above the shop. The shop is actually like 3 or 4 steps down from the street, and then it's almost like at some point it was like a basement. And then you can see there's a window. There's a window on street level, but when you're in the shop, you would be like 4 feet below that.
Yeah, that's
So,
very
like,
cool.
so,
Yeah.
so if you looked out the window, you'd see like people's
You'd see
feet.
people's feet going by.
Yeah,
Right?
Okay, gotcha.
It's very common in a lot of London and quite a lot of cities in it, but anyway. So
You can see in the window there are a number of objects, kind of like you'd expect, a little bit exotic, some Egyptian-looking stuff, and maybe a suit of armor and other stuff like that. It's dark inside the shop. But there are a few other shops that are around that are still open.
Yeah, I mean it is Sunday evening. Does it have the hours?
It's
Monday. It's Monday. Sorry. Oh, it's Monday. Ooh, Monday afternoon. So evening kind of. Does it have the hours posted? Is like
Sure, it'll be like from 9 a.m. until 8 p.m.
no, it should be open.
It should be
open. Okay, I gotcha.
okay. So I am going to have a peek for like a window.
Oh, you look through and it looks pretty much what you'd expect from an antique shop. There's just knickknacks here and there, and but there's nobody inside. It's not occupied.
Yeah, well, if a man has gone missing, I wouldn't expect it to.
No out to lunch sign would be back
No.
in an hour.
I don't. Doesn't seem like there's any sign of.
Now, is this one that had the apartment have an apartment above it?
Yeah, almost everything in this area does.
Okay, so we could probably assume that his apartment would be right above the shop.
Yeah, there are no lights on up there either.
Mm,
You could probably guess that the police have already searched and didn't find anything. So
Right. Yeah.
we could.
Do we want to maybe talk to his shop neighbors, see if he'd been having trouble with anyone?
That's what I was going to suggest. Yes.
okay.
They're occupied and open.
Yeah, there has to be.
Yeah.
Easy answers.
All right. Let's do a luck roll. I mean, you can all do luck rolls. This is just who gets the best roll. You all fail.
Fail.
I got the 61. My I can't spend luck on luck, so
You'd be
it's
chasing.
a fail by one.
So you all failed. The most you get out of anybody is he was an elderly gentleman that he did a fairly decent business, that he's in the Antiques Buyer's Guide. He's listed in there. He's listed at Sotheby's as well, just like a lot of other antique shops are. But nobody's seen him now for a couple of days.
And no one had been like harassing him.
No, not in this neighborhood.
Okay.
Mm.
Now, would these shops have like a back alley behind them?
I don't know. That's more of a Josh. Maybe. I don't know.
In Islington,
Probably the entrance to the upstairs is inside, if that's theirs.
Yeah, you'd usually have a door next to the front door that would then lead up.
Yeah, what I was thinking, I was trying to see if there'd be like where he would discard like crates or something that his goods would have come in.
There might be a back alley.
There's a back alley where they would have garbage and stuff like that. Which might
But it'd just be one. It'd just be one straight. There wouldn't be any cut-offs. You'd have to go all the way around your back door. There's no like cuttings, so you'd have to go around.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to make that walk. I'm in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the best shape. Not the best shape, but.
All right. Well, you guys go for a casually walk. Is the light in the sky is getting a little darker, and the street lights are starting to wink on, although they're still. It's still light enough to where you don't need street lights yet.
Right. And when I go, okay, I counted the businesses. I'm like, okay, this looks like this is probably the back of his business. What I'm looking for is, hey, there's crates, and just see if there's like a shipping from address or anything. Going through. Oh, he got this from Constantinople. That's what I'm hoping for, although I doubt it.
Oh, look, there's some red blood on this crate. Oh.
Yeah.
Someone's fez.
Look at this. It's a copy of the Sedefkar manuscripts.
Yeah.
All of them.
Do a luck roll then.
Nice.
Come on, Keith. Don't let us down.
I let you down. 98.
Stop it, Keith.
If it's an idea roll, I'd kick ass at that.
98 means that the garbage has been picked up and there's nothing back there.
Okay.
Empty cans.
So is the back door unlocked?
No, it's locked.
Okay.
What about the windows? Do any of the windows, maybe one up, are a little cracked for some air?
The only windows like that are 2 stories up.
Okay, and there's no easy access fire escapes that are.
No. He would also have. The thing is, if there was anything suspicious, he would have a ledger in there. But we can't jump to any conclusions, and we can't. We're stuck. We can't just break in. We have no real reason to break in.
Wouldn't be breaking in. Just if it happened to be open. Yeah.
Even though I kind of want to, but Dorian would not.
I understand. Huh.
The hunt is a hunt.
It's curious, though. Yeah, maybe Dr. Naruto's right. I'm getting jumping at shadows here.
Yeah.
Well, right. Could have been something, but maybe not this time.
Okay. So we'll assume then you all end up wherever you're going to sleep. And then the next day you are going to make your plans for traveling on the Orient Express. And that is where we will end it. You guys can do that next session. Our players included Morgan Llewellyn, David Gasaway, Stuart Lively, Keith Craig, Josh Harwood, and John Hook, with yours truly as the keeper of the secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with our other members. You can set up private games, and you can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answer any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.